And we are live. We are live.
Yeah,
Um,
we are. I'm going to be
we made
muting
it.
a lot. So my landscapers love to just kind of hang out by this window right here. So
My question, what I wanted to ask, because I know you changed the lab a while back when you I think you relocated. Did you move them with you? Because I think they sound the same as the last place. I
no,
new
we
crew.
definitely got region specific landscapers moving from the old place to the new place. But this one, because I was on a second story, the office was on a second story. When they'd be out there, like I could hear them, but it wouldn't pick up as well on the mic. They're right there. I mean, it's like I could almost touch them through this window. They like to stage like right
They
outside
like
the
to say
window.
they well, with that being said, I'm sure they're trying to finish up their things so they can go home, spend time with the family. Um,
And that was another thing too. Is you were like saying, "Hey, let's do a New Year's stream." I was like, "Great, yeah, it's New Year's Eve. They're not gonna come on New Year's Eve." I was sorely mistaken. They are absolutely here on New Year's Eve.
I we decided to try to wind it down. I just felt based on the last discussion with a few of our friends, they've expressed well, they wanted us to see if they could do that stream a little bit earlier. So Matt, Lonnie's in the chat. We see Raj is in the chat as well. We see some of our usuals, but
Some
yeah,
friendly faces.
some friendly faces, and with obviously your friendly face at the end of 2020, my friend. I I can't believe we're almost there. We're almost there. Not that there's a prize, but um, I don't know.
I
Everybody
feel like
talks
we
about it like
deserve a prize. I feel
I
like we made
know
it. This is good. We should. We all deserve. I don't know, like a cupcake. Everyone
or
gets a cupcake.
something. Yeah, yeah, some kind of a little prize appreciation. Congratulations, you made it through this year. One of my wife's family members sent her the WhatsApp stuff like that, and that little meme says 2020. I'm not going to count 2020 in my age since I didn't do anything this year. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. 2020 has been an interesting year. 2021 will be, I would say, somewhat interesting. I think there's going to be some different things going on. Oh, I see Rolando. Every time I say his name, I want to say Ronaldo. It's Rolando. Sorry.
Hmm.
But yeah, we there was a video that was pushed out yesterday by him with both of our lovely faces in there. Um, I see Matt. I see. So, quick question. I've heard you say this before, and I don't want to mess up the name entirely. So I call IR 1980. You call it ER. Is it IR or ER?
No idea.
Oh no, no idea.
Genuinely
Okay,
don't know.
I've never had him correct me, so I felt.
Regardless of how we pronounce his Twitch handle, he's good people. They are good people. I honestly don't even know
all.
if they are.
Oh, I absolutely. I am Dunes is in the
Right
chat
there.
as well. I don't know who this Matt Tyler is. He keeps showing up at all our parties, playing level 4 Jumanji. We made it. But I'm glad your voice is doing better, man. I'm sorry we didn't have a.
Yeah, no, it's hanging in there. I was sounding really whispery this Monday, so I probably won't be broadcasting and projecting like I normally am, but I'm going to try and work this mic close and we can still have a fun chat.
Absolutely, it's either that or a new radio voice that you can just break up into a new career out of this. Like how you get that nice little deep raspy voice just to kind of hit that note.
I mean, I wish I had control over it. This kind of texture is what I want all the time, but I only get it when I'm feeling a little like under the weather. So
We get that little nasally raspy sound, and then you get through the sickness. You're like, dang it, I want to feel better, but sound. If I could just turn it on, or maybe it's an audio filter or some kind of a plugin, we can go in with it. So ER is saying it's initials is as in, oh, it's his first name. So he's saying it's ER as in in, the way it sounds like in. So as E or I as in E, Ibrahim. So it's ER.
so
ER.
I was
Okay.
closer.
Yes, you were way closer. I was so far on the left side of town. Not even, yeah. Adam Ravat. Oh, hey, Ibrahim Adam Ravat. Okay, so that explains it. Okay, thank you. Well, now we know that the mystery of, I've seen the name so many times, but with that being said, this week has been somewhat slow, obviously, as you could expect, the last week of the year. with the exception, obviously, of I don't know if you got a chance to catch the Mi 11 launch in China.
Mhm.
Xiaomi launched that Mi 11 first, which, depending on who you watch or you're reading from, they're still calling it a 2021 flagship because technically it's not released until 2021,
Now,
but it was
what I was
launched in 20.
surprised by, yeah, I mean, so they've announced it, and
And this is the
we're
Chinese model, not the global.
right, but we're
Yeah.
still expecting that Chinese model to start moving in January. Is that like
Yeah.
the pre-orders were
Or
going to start shipping in second week, right?
exactly. Yeah. Mid-January shipping out. And for reference, I think the launch event was purely focused on the standard model. So this is not the
Mhm.
Mi 11 Pro, because typically Xiaomi releases two variants, right? There's the 10, the 10 Pro, and then later we had the 10T. Or the 10T Pro. I don't know why they borrowed that one from OnePlus. I'm like, the T should never, like, what does the T stand for? TK or Thunder or Thor edition? Uh, but yeah, I was actually interested. That was actually very interesting to see the Mi 11 come out. The first Snapdragon 888 smartphone come out, or launch, not come out, and looks like an actually pretty decent configuration. Nice little upgrade. It's a spec bump, obviously, from what we saw last year, but it's a different change with what we see now with the 888 and the new upgrades that we see. So I'm wanting to see more on the software side, the performance end, to see how much Xiaomi is actually bringing in to the recipe, as opposed to,
Yeah.
because they get to tailor the experience. So, what was your thought on that? Do you like the design, or?
Well, I mean, those Mi phones, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not as experienced with all of the various permutations of like Xiaomi and BBK brands, So when we're talking like the Mi, I think the last one I got my hands on was the Mi 9.
Yeah.
I never felt like those phones were supposed to be the big brassy flagship fashion phones.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm misjudging. I always kind of felt like with the T's and the Pros and all that other stuff, you would kind of climb up the food chain. So I just thought it was kind of interesting how Xiaomi was making so much noise, and genuinely they seem to be first in line.
Yep.
It's a different change of pace. I mean, we often expect a Samsung to kind of be the first out of the gate. They kick off the new phone season with whatever the new bleeding edge chipset might be. So it's kind of interesting to see not only it coming to a Xiaomi first, but that it's not the most expensive, the most premium, the most top of the line option that they're going to be starting with. And I think that's definitely in keeping with the trends that we saw in 2020. The phones that really seem to move are more mid-rangery, and it seems to be a harder and harder and harder sell as you keep climbing up to some of these higher tiers of devices. It's definitely kind of a continuation. I think a lot of companies learned this in 2020. It makes me a little sad because I still want those ultra niche, super powerful, hardcore laptop replacement grade phones. It just seems like we're going to have to wait until later in the year to start getting some of those.
Well, they're piecemealing their launch events also. I feel like that was a big trend in 2020 that's continuing. We don't get the launch event that announces everything. We're getting, like the S line will come here, the Note line comes here, the Fold will come there. Samsung kind of piecemealed it. Apple did the same thing. And I think Xiaomi's more than likely we'll see another event from them for the Mi 11 Pro.
Well, and especially from like Xiaomi and Oppo, I'm getting that sense that this is going to be another one of those exhausting years where every week
we'll have a phone.
New phone that comes out from these brands, and
exactly.
I need them to slow their roll. I need them to just like pump the brakes a sec. So I don't know. They don't seem real to me because there are often so many of them that hit and then they like evaporate, a month later.
Exactly. But before we go too far, I do want to mention that thumbnails going on with the little icons here that we're going to from Twitch over there. Somebody's using their Twitch account correctly. And of course, Juan Carlos does not disappoint. He's wearing the right outfit for it. Short answer, I almost want to say it caught me off by surprise. There was not a big announcement. There wasn't like they were publicizing it everywhere. I think was it Max tweeting about it maybe a week or so ago, and I suddenly, as I became interested, checked it out. It looks very interesting. I'm interested to see what they do with the Pro line. Now, last year, one thing that surprised everybody was how Xiaomi approached the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro. The Mi 10 Pro, I think, was the most expensive device that they've sold for a while, and there was a lot of controversy around that part. So we'll have to see if that maybe did some course corrections, what we see here with the Mi 11 Pro, and when that becomes a reality, or we'll end up seeing what it is. But you're right. It's actually, I'm actually a little bit surprised. Yeah, right. Xiaomi goes in, takes it first. I think Samsung is touted to be around the corner, right? Mid of January, which is roughly the time the pre-orders will start for Xiaomi for the S20 line series or S21. We're seeing a
But
lot
I have to
more.
wonder, because Samsung was also making so much noise about like their next gen Exynos, and it's funny,
Yeah,
like
the
we
1080.
know Samsung and Qualcomm have collaborated on chip fabrication, and
Mhm.
processor design is very competitive. This is going to be a really interesting year for both Qualcomm and Samsung, as I think
Exactly.
they're each individually trying to walk away from the more extreme customizations of these ARM chipsets, and they're both kind of walking closer towards ARM reference designs.
They're
So,
sticking.
so I always wondered, Samsung puts in such a huge order for Snapdragons, even though they ship Exynos to
Mhm.
most of the world, and they had to support CDMA here in the United States. Is this going to be the year where we see that bifurcation, that kind of separation of this partnership, or the cooling of this part? It won't evaporate, and it's not going to go away.
Absolutely.
But I'll be very curious to see, and also some of those rumors. Are we going to see a Snapdragon variant of the Galaxy phones here in the United States? But because of that, does a company like Xiaomi get to walk in and say like, hey, we're going to outsell Samsung, give us some preferred deal, and we're going to move these units much more aggressively and much earlier in the year,
Mhm.
especially because I'm looking through the specs on the Mi 11 again, and it looks like a fine phone, but it does
Absolutely. It's
it does. I mean, tell me, doesn't it kind of feel like just like the processor swap from what we got this year?
overall the overall spec sheet felt like a spec bump. It really felt like they just upgraded from the 865 to the 888. But I also want to say that because we only saw so when I read through it and I kept looking, I'm like, did I miss a spec sheet somewhere where the Pro was announced? And then I realized that they weren't really even talking about it. So this is truly what they probably end up doing is they take the best of last year, provide us with a spec bump on the CPU, and that becomes the standard model. So the 11 is the standard 11 model. I think it's the Pro is probably where they're going to start doing maybe some new type of development, new tech. But the way that it's going, realistically, finally Xiaomi is doing 120 hertz. I think that was a big
Mhm.
thing. They did 90 to a certain extent that I felt like too long. I felt like they should have been like at the same pace as OnePlus, Oppo, kind of
Yeah,
like last year.
and
Um,
and on a 1440 p
yeah,
display.
so literally it feels like they learned we're no longer 1080 120 or 1080 90. We're doing so basically the best of what we had last year from let's say a Find X2 Pro or a OnePlus 8. OnePlus 8 Pro. So those are the higher panels. Which, if that's the standard, that's exciting because that tells us that the 11 Pro will be even more.
But I'll be curious
But
to see what they do for more. I mean, at this point, what you bump up to a larger battery and you add a periscoping telephoto camera.
probably,
I'm
or
I'm I'm really anxious to see. So many of these technologies are kind of striking the upper mid range. How much phone you can buy for $700 changes radically over
that's
the
true.
course of a year,
It
and
depends also who you're with. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And so I'm looking at the spec sheet and going like, okay, but you've got all the big numbers. I'm real curious. Like, what I'd like to see is a better macro setup. So maybe instead of the ultra wide that's on this, which I think is one of the smaller 3rd-inch sensors, you go
hmm,
with what OnePlus did, and you have a 48
true.
megapixel ultra wide that can do close focusing. I
Dual.
mean,
Yep.
that'd be a nice bump. A slightly larger battery. Everyone's always gonna like that. Get a telephoto periscoping camera.
I'm imagining the faster charging will probably go to the Pro,
So,
if
I
anything else. Yeah,
and sure, what is it? I'm looking at the
I
spec.
think it's
You've got
55 and
55
50
watt fast charging. So
faster, and 50 wireless, which is also very fast.
it's too fast. No, no, but I mean, like, yeah,
Okay.
we can nudge every single one of these specs, right?
Yeah.
What I'm going to be concerned about is we're I remember when the Mi 9 launched, and it was such a big deal because didn't it launch at around like $500? Wasn't it a
Mhm.
$400 or $500 phone? And this year I got so many, people trying to tag me, like, oh, there's no reason why premium phones have to be this expensive. Look at a Mi 9. And then the Mi 10 launched, and it was significantly more expensive than the Mi 9. And it seems like
Quite
the
a
Mi
bit.
11 is a bump. I mean, because what? It's going to be about a $900 phone. So
Mhm.
when we get to a Mi 11 Pro,
Pro,
we're
yeah.
in again, the whole value proposition of what made Xiaomi interesting is being whittled away. And I still have concerns with some of Xiaomi's business model being so services based and being
Okay.
so into leveraging your data. So you're not getting an incredible deal for your data being a part of the equation. Now you're getting kind of a mainstream phone at a mainstream price. And I still feel like they kind of
With
leverage their services as additional value for their bottom line, for their profit margins. So
Yep.
that's kind of where I'm not bristly, but I'm anxious. I'm mad that Samsung is packing more ads into their premium devices, TVs and laptops and tablets and phones. I'm curious to see what Google is going to respond with this year, if they're going to stay in the mid range, because the Pixel 5 has actually been doing pretty well.
It is.
And I see a $900 or the equivalent of $900 Xiaomi Mi 11, and we haven't even gotten to the Pro yet. I mean, the Pro is still just leaks and rumors from pulling pieces of their app list and their software. I'm not sure what I don't know
We're
what's there.
It is.
I'm
It's a little bit of a dilemma, right? Because you're like on
Mhm.
one part you're somewhat excited, and the other part you're like, but it's kind of the same story, different time. But we're really not. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're literally just moving on to the next
Unless
year with the.
unless Xiaomi is going to start making the argument that their business model no longer depends on services, that you're paying more for a product up front, and then that's rolled into the costs of the support of the device and how the
I,
device
I would
is
I would
managed.
hope
But I
that
don't
that's
think
the
they're making
model.
that argument.
Not yet, not yet. I think the pricing is at least if it's anything to be seen from what we saw with the 10 and the 10 Pro, the overall, the data being used, not necessarily being hidden, but like their theme store ads, their browser. There was a whole thing going on last year with the whole
Oh yeah.
browser. Even when you're in incognito mode, it was still being tracked, and all that information was being there. So, and they correct
And
that when
their
they.
solution to that was you are still tracked in incognito mode unless you dig into the browser
It's their
settings,
settings
enable
and disable it.
incognito tracking.
Because by default, you should always opt out, right? You should never have to opt into something, which
Correct.
God, it should always be always your opt out, and you have to opt into something. You should never be on by default. That is just the wrong way to start any kind of relationship. But uh,
Mhm.
I do want to do a quick acknowledgement, real quick, to our friend, our buddy, Senor Mateus Tiller, from London, with the hashtag TKRB, TK the man, the legend. Hey, wow, that was a long one. Some a punchable face. Okay, I don't usually use that one. And then of course some LG chill guy, which I have to say, seriously, dude, the tweets that you've been putting out the last couple of days have been stellar. I have not, and I don't want to make it sound like any kind of weird way, whatever, but I have not. Um, it's weird. Like I've never enjoyed watching my feed and then seeing your butt show up in my feed for some reason. Like when did you turn into a model, man? When did you start doing these things?
The best thumbnail I've ever pulled off was for the
I know, I know. I'm like scrolling, like what the?
and it's
Wait,
like
is that
scrolling, and bam, right there.
right there? And I'm like, okay. Thank you, Senor Carlos. No, it was I have to say though, the selection of videos that you've been putting out, which is really nice. So if you guys haven't, you probably didn't catch it or whatever, Juan was not feeling 100% on Monday to be able to have his stream, so he chose to go a slightly different direction and started basically tweeting out some of his biggest hits of 2020. And I felt like that was a great way. It was always interesting, but that one thumbnail, it was for his LG
Mhm.
V60 video in his back pocket. So it wasn't necessarily a inappropriate video post, but it was very, very cool. I also saw LG was very happy with all of the tweets of that. So it was like a lot of fun. Everybody was kicking it. Oh, Scott Peachy's in the comment. Man, hey man, good morning. Yeah. Do you want early New Year's friend? Yeah, I think he had a live stream last night. I had I caught a couple minutes of that. Yeah. Scott and I go way back with the Google stuff. Really cool guy, and of course, there's a lot of our friends. Man, everybody's in there. And Mr. Wallace is in the comments. Greeting. What do you think of the LG and the Sony will pursue the terms and overall strategy with their respective positions in the 2021 smartphone market? Wow, that's a loaded one, Senor. I'll let you go in with LG first. I'll see where you'd go with, because I feel like I don't know where LG can go other than the foldable or the rollable. I feel like
no, actually, I think LG's year next year could be really interesting. I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised that those words just came out of my mouth. This is a brand.
You heard it here. You heard it in 2020. LG's going to be good.
A shocker. Juan thinks LG might be kind of nifty.
Hold on, let me bring back the hashtags to some LG chat.
Have you seen there was the article that came out? I believe it's a Thai article that came out with leaks on what the V70 replacement might be like.
No. Do you have?
Hold on. I'll drop the link in.
I was going to say, if you want to share the screen, we can also take a quick gander.
Let me see if I can do that too. Hold on. And screen.
And while you're doing that, Eljo says
down in the lobby now if you want to pop it up.
Yeah, Eljo said Happy New Year's to all. May it be ever so slightly less than 2020.
I'm a big fan of saying poopy.
Okay, yeah,
2021 is less poopy than 2020.
That's exactly how we wanted to kind of say it.
Isn't that hilarious? Somehow that making it PG is somehow a little worse than if we just dropped the actual.
The actual word would have made more sense into the conversation as opposed to being
For sure. Okay, so these are all still rumors. I'm not a big fan of hunting out leaks and rumors, but. If this is what arrives as a V60 replacement, I think it's interesting. It would be sort of merging the Velvet and the V series. I don't love that they'd probably have this curve on the display, but they're going with some, if this pans out, they're going with some interesting branding and camera exercises. So it looks like we'd get a periscoping telephoto, but it's got a Samyang label on it. And they make a lot of those manual focus lenses. They make some really great lenses for different camera systems. You can often find really inexpensive Samyang or Rokinon, I think is also there.
Okay, yeah. I'm familiar with Rokinon. I haven't. Okay.
A crazy number of individual lenses here.
Reminds me a little bit of the Velvet, if you think about it. The setup.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But that's what I mean is like, it really doesn't make a ton of sense for LG to have a bunch of phones in the middle and upper tier. So whittling it back even one more, that's one less phone that might sit on store shelves, right? And so to me, this would be let's get back to putting everything in the kitchen sink. Now, the rest of these rumors, I'm not sure I buy. Because they're talking about this being a display at 120 hertz that would rival an Xperia 1. So this would be a 3840 by 1644. That's technically a cinema crop on a UHD display at 120 hertz. So I'm
interested. I don't know if that's possible. I don't even think the chipset can handle 120 hertz at UHD.
I think it can. I thought the 888 could. But anyway, I mean, regardless, the only other company that's done something like that is Sony. And they did it with a 90. It's technically a 45 hertz with a black frame insertion to feel like a 90 hertz display. Yeah. So there are ways that you can mess with display tech, but the rest of these seem like they could be kind of legit. If it's more in the Velvet form factor, the battery would be a little bit smaller. It would be a 4,300 milliamp hour battery, but we're also supposed to get a bunch of efficiency and radio management improvements from the Snapdragon 888.
Yep.
12 or 16 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage. They don't have any word on whether or not this would still have memory card and quad DAC, but this feels like something LG could make.
It
I'm
could.
putting this
It
at
could.
sort of a medium authentic. Like this is possible. I'm not sure this would be exactly what LG would drop.
I I really, really hope at least that the V series, whichever this V series successor, it still carries a quad DAC or a headphone jack and a quad DAC. Because that, if anything, that's the series you want to keep it on. If you're going to play the swaparoo kind of conversation, let me go ahead and it looks nice. I have to say the design looks really interesting. Fits what the characteristics of the V60, but if it is true that they would lose battery size because that was such a big thing they wanted to push at in the V60, I would go a little thicker with a 5,000 milliamp battery, even with the 888, because that just means it'll last even longer.
Oh yeah.
That was one thing about the V60 I love.
That been a thing that we've seen, Sony's and LG's in the past. It's like, well, the chipset got better, so you don't need as big a battery. But again, it would be more like, let's take what's mainstream and successful about the Velvet and then bump those specs up, right? Let's take a V60 and whittle it down. So it's the philosophy. It's that psychology of it. You feel like you're going to get less if you're looking at the V60, but if you're looking at the Velvet, you're getting way more.
Absolutely. And I think if we look at it just from the sake of, you're right. If you look at it from, the way I looked at it as, I guess, because I'm in my mind, typically what I like to do is I see what was the previous performance and then double it and then go see what the comparison is. But you're right. If they go with the Velvet, it is definitely a step up. The design looks very similar to the way the camera setup is on the Velvet, not the V60. Because the V60 went more with the bender kind of configuration with the whole thing, stripe, and then of course the Velvet went all tiered configuration, which I actually personally, from an aesthetics point of view, it looks nicer. But we'll have to see. I'm actually interested to see what they do with the Explorer program as well. The swing, the LG Swing. Did you get that one this year? I tried it.
Yeah,
no, the wing,
the LG harness, the LG strap,
the LG refrigerator, everything. Actually, that was one of my favorite phones. And if there was one thing that I'm really kind of in a weird position, and I can't use the phone on any other carrier other than what the version that I got.
It's a Verizon. Me off is I was looking at picking up a second line on Visible because I want to start covering more carrier news. And even though it's a Verizon phone, it is not supported on Visible. I mean, just like, this is driving me nuts. I want to use this phone. I want to pay for another line. I don't want to pick up another Verizon line.
It's one of those
MVNO.
And there's no. I tried looking up online to try to find a way if it's like unlocking it just to pay the fee. Because I was thinking like maybe I'll just pay the fee and I'll unlock whatever $30, whatever, just to be able to use it outside of the Verizon side. Because of I personally am a T-Mobile user, so I have T-Mobile and I've had them for years.
I haven't, but that's basically T-Mobile now. So.
Well, yeah, but you're saying, but I also have AT&T, so I've always used both major GSM carriers. So yeah, that's about the one thing that I haven't been able to. I have been, last week or so, playing with the Cyberpunk edition one since we last spoke last Friday or last Wednesday. So that was actually a nice little surprise from OnePlus because it actually works on 5G. So it was nice.
Sorry, I meant to finish up like.
No, go ahead.
I would say we've got Explorer at the high end for LG. So you've got I would hope we see a Wing follow-up. But even if you don't, you've got the scrollable that's going to be coming out. We know that's going to be their most expensive option. Something at the premium tier that replaces both the V and the Velvet. I think you focus on the Velvet because that was probably more mainstream popular. And then you bump up those specs so that it appeals to people who might have been shopping a V. And then the year was really made by Stylo, where Stylo looks like it's going to be the same design language as what we just saw from that leak post, and K series.
I was going to say, I was
K-series,
surprised with the K series tweet that you put out. Yeah, that was very nice. The number one's
K,
Christmas phones.
the number
Number
10
10.
most activated phone for Christmas was an LG K series. And again, everyone was like, well, the top 9 phones were iPhones, right? Probably, absolutely accurate. What was the only Android phone on the list?
That has five. That
Uh,
actually, I think, is also 5G enabled. It's the K series on Verizon with 5G, the most affordable.
so again, I mean, it's like it's like tech reviewers at this point are going out of their way to not look at LG. So the similar thing, I'll be really curious to see what Sony does, because I feel like they got stuck in a distribution and manufacturing nightmare of a year,
Yeah.
and I'm expecting that we'll see an Xperia 1 Mark III.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you. I mean, again, if this rumor on LG that they're coming out with a UHD capable screen at a higher refresh rate,
Yeah.
I bet you Sony will push the Xperia 1 III to having a true cinema 4K display, not a UHD crop, because it's a UHD display just in letterbox format. I
Yeah.
bet you they go to a full cinema 4K, and that they'll
I
probably bump up like the color accuracy and all that stuff, because they already do that on the Japanese models. Like there's always a Japanese variant of a pro mode of an Xperia 1 that has like the best sourced panels that Sony can get their hands on. The rest of this, I think, is also going to be a bit more of a holding year. Really, what I'm excited about for 2021 is improved efficiency on the Snapdragon 888 and better radio management, so that 5G doesn't take such a huge hit on battery life. And I think a lot of companies are going to kind of float that. I'd love if more companies just made the exact same phone shape and just refreshed the guts. That would make me the happiest ever.
That would be the most cost efficient too, if they actually decided to go with that, because then they wouldn't have to reinvent and R&D development and all of that, getting new designs, new looks. I'm interested to see what Sony has to bring in. I think for sure 2020 was a big surprise for me, both on the 1 and on the 5. They both, in my opinion, I feel like they knocked it out of the park. I am still waiting my Android 11 update
I'm
on
booting
my.
mine up now. Have you tried testing to see if we finally got the Android 11 update?
I did it 3 times this morning. Nada.
I'll try too. Maybe I'll get it and you won't.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, you know what? The way things have been going, I wouldn't be surprised, man. I wouldn't be surprised if, Sony sends you the copy right away, and for me, I'm like sitting here waiting for it. Yeah, no, I was like, I thought it was going to prove me wrong, and I'll be like, yeah, look, I got it. And I'm like, no, no bueno. It's okay. I'll keep trying. I thought December was going to be the month. I know certain variants in different markets have received it. And there's been basically the 4K 120 is in those updates,
Yeah.
at least.
No, it's the US phones, I think, are the last ones that don't
It's
have
because
it.
we were also the last ones to get them. So
yeah. No, I kind of feel like 2021 might be the year that we finally see a Sony tap into a carrier agreement again. Like we would have seen with the Xperia 1 or Xperia Pro. That phone really couldn't have existed without a Verizon partnership. And so
the moment they say UW on it, the moment I mean, if anything, if there's just that little moniker, even if they don't say Verizon, no,
it would have been, it would have been internationally a millimeter wave supporting phone. Especially in the Japanese market. That was the big play, was getting millimeter wave support, not just sub-6. The only one that you would have partnered with in the United States is Verizon. And there is no agreement. So when every other carrier is putting out their flavor of 5G, you would have to make different radio modules to support each carrier here in the United States. It doesn't make sense. You especially for an outlet like Sony, you make a bunch of phones, you ship them to a carrier, you wash your hands of it, you call it a day. Verizon would have been the only one that would have made sense. So I think in 2021, if the Xperia Pro sort of fell out and Sony wasn't able to really pull that off, 2021 becomes the year where it would be nice. It'd be nice to see on a carrier site, oh, you can buy this Sony. Remember, Sony still makes phones, that kind of stuff helps, because it's the only way, it seems, to garner any kind of refresh for consumers, to be aware that your brand still exists.
That's I would hope for us to be able to start seeing them again. I feel like the 888 also brings in one extra optimization, which is the global 5G support. It actually, as a modem, the X60 has a wider compatibility with more different, with different markets. So it's intended to be a global modem, but we don't know obviously is how Sony will
We
work with
know
it.
United States carriers are still going to lock
I was
that
going to say, yeah,
in,
no, it could be global, whatever. The phone can do whatever you want it to do. But in the US, we throw all of that out the door. We do, we have rules, different rules for America. Everybody else, great. It's just because that was about the one thing, if I had to kind of just put my finger on one thing about the 5 and the 1 in the US, is that that was the year Sony didn't have that, that 5G moniker on any of their stuff. And I think hopefully in 2021, not to say that it would have made a big difference. I do want to mention that at least in the US, outside of millimeter wave, when we're talking sub-6, mid-band or low band, realistically, the speeds aren't that different from 5G yet. We're not really seeing this leaps and bounds and like God help us kind of thing. Maybe better penetration depending on the market that you're in and the carrier that you're in. So you may get better, inside of the buildings or in apartments or houses. I felt like that was what the big push with 5G was, better signal connection. But for me, I've tested both 5G and 4G LTE. And that doesn't really matter. My Sony still gets 120, 130 megabits down easy. So we'll have to see. But I think Sony, I would love to see more of their camera prowess done there. But my hope essentially is that somebody says, oh, by the way, did we ever think about, or did we talk about that front-facing camera? Can we try something? No. Can we give them a bone? Can we just say, hey guys, I don't know. Let's just take one of the...
I hope Sony sticks to their guns. We've got the best camera is the one on the back. Get good at using that.
Well, no, absolutely. And I don't have a problem. My only concern is when I try to use Cinema Pro by myself, that's hard. That's just hard to try to use Cinema Pro by yourself. That was my only thing.
Like the V70 leak, they're talking about the 48 megapixel shooter for the ultra wide. And that's something that I'll be curious to see if Sony jumps on for next year. Is they've been very reluctant to put super megapixel sensors on their phones. If any manufacturer can pull this off, I'm curious to see if Sony can. If we can improve the focus speed and accuracy for these quad bear or nanocell sensors. Because that's the thing I think that's holding Sony back, is their focus is we want you to have like scary, it's eerie how good that eye detection and autofocus and subject detection is on a Sony phone. And you can't do that with quad bear. So how do you improve the ultra wide? The only larger sensors coming out are these combo quad bear pixel binning sensors. So that to me, I think, is the room. Is will we see something, a different kind of telephoto experiment? Like maybe they go with a more resolution dense sensor like the S20 had.
Okay. I see what you mean.
I feel like where they can make some different different hardware component changes and choices. But we should see, again, the phone that acts the most like a real camera. I'm hoping will be an Xperia 1 Mark III.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that I don't want them to lose. I don't want them to ever lose that relationship with the Alpha team and get it to feel like an Alpha camera and continue they could just continue the line, because we saw that also. We saw some of the benefits on the Xperia 5 too. The Xperia 5 didn't miss anything. In fact, one thing it has, which I'm still waiting for, is that 4K at 120. That's like, which I don't understand why we're not getting it, because the Xperia 5 has it on Android 10. So we know this is not an Android 11 feature, but I guess with the 1, that's when you're going to be rolling it out. Yeah, I know. Yes.
Anytime now. I figure if I just keep doing this enough, eventually
Sony will be like, well, we'll just give
the rest of the show should just be me doing this.
We'll do it together. We'll see if we can. I actually wanted to say, like, hey, let me give you the phone. Wait, hold on, it goes the other way, but no. Speaking of which, I hope the FIO made it safely.
Yeah, I just popped it back out of the box. So
perfect.
In keeping with the tone of our show, the fact that my FIO came back to me was definitely one of the highlights of my week. And
I wanted to make, so for reference, I was super happy, super pleased, and very, very much in love with this. That I felt like it made no sense for me to keep borrowing Juan's for an extended amount of time as opposed to just picking up one for myself. So I did. It should be here on Monday. Unfortunately, the shipping is, yes, I missed that. It's such so. What I love about it the most is the fact that I have it, you connect it to the USB-C on the PC and it works perfectly with my laptop, my desktop, my Mac. Anywhere I connect it, it just does its job and it does it beautifully. And I don't have to bump up my headphones all the way just to can be able to kind of enjoy them. So for me, the Fio is definitely one of the things I'm super excited about. It's not one of my best because I had to get rid of. Well, I didn't get rid of. I sent back the one I had, which in hindsight, I'm thinking about. I should have just waited till I got.
Now,
anyways,
I need to ask you because
yes,
this is the thing that I think I had the biggest issue with.
Yes.
USB-C to USB-C. Did you have any other cables that could support the Fio? Because that was the flakiest part of the Q3 for me. The USB-C cable they provide is one direction. If you plug it in the wrong way, even though the cables are both USB-C connectors, you plug it in the wrong direction and it doesn't work. And I
learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I'm serious. Same thing happened to me. I plugged it in the first time. I'm listening. This is awesome. I unplug it, I put it away. Second time I went to use it, I thought it was broken. It shows charge. I got the levels. I can turn up the volume. Why isn't it getting a signal? And it's literally because their USB-C only works in one direction. Did you try messing with any others? I had a Thunderbolt cable that worked.
I only tried it once. So I used the cable when I was using it with my Find X2 Pro because it wouldn't work with my Samsung. Samsung would just not communicate for some reason. Samsung's like, no, talk to us. You need to talk to us through our adapter and we've known that because that's one of the things they did with the S series last year. So with my Sony, with my Find X2 Pro, perfectly no problem. Once I figured out the cable direction, the one thing about the Fio that kind of got me at the beginning was the way you put it on smartphone. You'd have to rubber band it to the back of your phone if you're carrying it with you. You're trying to do that whole double-sided phone thing. But other than that, I think I used it literally like 95% of the time because we're home on my PCs.
Gotcha.
On both the Mac and USB-C on the Mac worked fine. On the PC, same thing, and as well as on the laptop. But for mobile devices, I think at the time, because it's more of a personal thing, when I'm running and I'm doing my exercises and so on, I use the Find X2 Pro because of the new treadmill that I'm reviewing. It doesn't support bigger phones like the other devices that I have. So short answer, it's a first world problem. I'm trying to get back into shape. Let's say that much. Mobvoi actually was kind enough to send me one of their treadmills, so I'm like really, really happy. So that's one thing that I'm very. Yeah, no, I never thought of Mobvoi as a company that makes, smartwatches and treadmills. That to me is like,
I mean, but you look at Xiaomi and, like scooters and
Xiaomi is like like the amount of things that Xiaomi has their hands in, even if when it's not even sold under their name, it'll say made by Xiaomi, is just like, wow. My last treadmill that I reviewed, which was also a compact treadmill, was by a company called Yuping, which was a subsidiary of Xiaomi, and they made sure everybody knows that they were part of them. I know you've been to Beijing or to China before as well. Have you ever visited one of their stores? Have you ever walked into a Xiaomi?
Yeah, so I mean, like when I was flying out to Shenzhen, there was a Huawei store.
So I went to the Huawei store. We had to look for the Xiaomi one. It's not in every mall.
One. And again, I have so little relationship with this brand. I mean, like I'd love to see what it is that they set up, and I never got around to checking one out.
It was a very interesting experience. Like the things that they had in that store were like even down to, and this is not that I'm trying to plug anything from Xiaomi, but hold on. It's like this USB light, this USB literally connector light. It's a Xiaomi one. This is sold by Xiaomi in their stores. I found this to be just the most cutest little thing. Obviously, for great when you're sitting on your laptop, you want to be able to see. But short answer is they have a lot of stuff, and they're very big. There's so many stores. But I want to say if anything, 2020 for me was actually a big development for that. I wasn't able to work with them a lot before in 2019 or so on. So 2020 that door opened up, and they seem to be very happy.
I know we kind of got sidetracked by Xiaomi
Yeah,
again.
it's always
Mavoy, and
oh yeah,
I'm hoping we'll see this update for the TicWatch.
Yeah,
because I love my TicWatch. I'm literally wearing it right now.
Same here.
I want this software. I want to see what this update will be. I still have the TicWatch Pro 4G, the LTE watch.
Oh, the LTE model from last year. This year. Yeah.
And again, this update is supposed to improve performance.
Improve the battery as well.
If this older watch runs better with some fresh software. Anytime those guys like to kind of hook this up, get this stuff pushed out, it'd be pretty neat.
I always wished side loading things to Android Wear is not the simplest process, and it's not the easiest. So it's by no means just download it. And no, you literally have to wait for it. And there's no rhyme or reason. There's been many posts online that'll say reset the watch, go in, repair it, unpair it, reconnect, do all. No, none of that works. It doesn't change. No. But with Mobboy, I have to say this: the new TicWatch Pro, the TicWatch 3 that we have, I like the UI. I like the fact that the overall smooth and fluidity of the system you could see it there. You didn't have to get the 1 gig model last time to be able to get the same benefit. They're doing much better with this one. So I like the performance. I like the actual battery life. Solid 2.5 days for me right now. I also got a chance. I'm also playing with the Amazfit, which I don't know if you've ever checked out their brand. So they reached out. So I'm getting a chance to try out their GTS model, not the new one, not the Mini. The Mini is a little bit too small for me. They reached out about that. I said, how does it look on a guy's hand? They said a little bit. So, but essentially what I'm trying to say is, I'm happy with the fact that we're healthy, we're alive, we're doing okay. Because it's every time I turn on the news, I just feel like, wow, when is it going to happen? That's kind of more like, I feel like more like a when is, as opposed to, how do we stay away? But we'll have to see how things go. Honestly, I don't know. We have CES that's going to start up in about a week or so. That's also kind of an interesting first CES that's digital. On a side note, I never got an email from Toto, which I'm not saying that I'm looking for an email from Toto like you and Josh got last time. I was like,
you don't need it.
I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine.
Things that you're going to be tasked with reviewing. It's one that it's fine.
It would be an interesting development. Yeah, how do you review that? What cinematic shot would you do on that? That's what I'd like to see, the cinematic shots, because I want to see pan shots in the bathroom. That's what I want to see. So we have a friend here from Shenzhen. His name is Wu Lala. I think if I'm not mistaken, that's also a name of a brand. If I'm not mistaken, I think I've heard that name before. And then. Of course, Andrew's jumping in are y'all planning on any live watches of CES press and events if they're available online? So I haven't planned anything. I know there's a few pre-briefs, announcements. I know NVIDIA, I think, announced something that there was going to happen on the 12th, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But it's mostly around the GeForce type of stuff, which I have to say that was one of the biggest things. Online gaming. Have you tried playing games online yet, or like GeForce or Stadia or anything like that?
Oh, I mean, we were doing a bunch of it at Newegg. We were going to do a whole bunch of coverage on Stadia, and then Stadia kind of fizzled just as a topic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I want to say at launch, on a Pixel 3a, we were playing like Attack on Titan and trying to do coverage on that kind of stuff.
I like that.
I've been a big fan of this idea. I don't really understand tech enthusiasts that act like forever and for the end of time, we're always going to need expensive, powerful, premium computers under our TVs. I feel like I was in a Viper live stream like 6 months ago before, during all of like the hype of the PS5 and the next Xbox, like all the rumors and stuff were out. And like everyone was trashing game streaming. I was the only one in there saying like, what what's happening here? To think that you guys are supposed to be tech enthusiasts and you can't see a connected future where the streaming stuff gets better and relatively quickly doesn't make any sense to me. I really feel like this is the last proper console generation where consumers all flock to as the main option. We obviously have some infrastructure issues to work out, and Comcast is going to be slapping data caps on everyone next year. It's getting really ugly out there. But when I firing up in any web browser and I'm playing AAA titles on super weak and low powered machines, and my internet connection is good, but it's not great. And I feel like this is acceptable. It's the same difference being like, oh, the image fidelity of a Blu-ray is obviously better than what you can stream on Netflix. That's a no-brainer.
Exactly.
How many people are still buying and watching Blu-rays?
I haven't bought a single disc movie in years.
So I do on very specific titles that I want to have archived and backed up forever. So I've got a 4K rip of Die Hard because Die Hard is the best Christmas movie of all time. I've got the Omen collection I just got for
all hail John McClane. Yep, sorry.
the Gospel according to John. Anyway, I got the Omen collection because I think the original Omen is it's one of my all-time favorite horror films. It's kind of a horror suspense thriller. There are a handful of just really important movies. I still have a Blu-ray burner in my
Fat Brutus was throwing in his hashtag not sponsored flex for the win.
Yep. Yeah. Again, I'm with you, but again, we're all looking at this sort of connected streaming future for content. I really feel, over the next 5 years, sure, PCs are going to get more powerful, graphics cards are going to get more powerful, but I think gaming is the tip of the spear for sort of remote server side workstations.
Yeah,
where you can lease time on a monster of a server, and you don't have to have local compute power if you've got a reasonably decent internet connection. Gaming already demonstrates that the power, performance, price will become attractive to people out there who can already afford this stuff. And it's funny because it's going to hit the people who are already more affluent first. Those who can afford to live in areas with good data are going to be the ones that actually start shedding off additional compute power locally. So
why would you want to spend $1,000+ on a GPU just to be able to play the AAA game where for $5 a month?
Well, look at
Cyberpunk. Finish the whole game
again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I played Cyberpunk on GeForce yesterday, or the last couple of days, and I was like, absolutely the exact there was a few stutters every once in a while, but it wasn't like the game. I know it was like a network thing because I was actually playing it on the phone and it was enjoyable. I played it with controllers and it was like, wow, I can play Cyberpunk in the park now. I mean, if I can go to the park, but that's one of those things, it's GeForce
I'll never let people forget it. But, when it came to all of the consoles out there, the Cyberpunk launch for Stadia was probably the best way to play Cyberpunk if you didn't own a monster gaming PC.
Even with that said, the PC was still having problems. Didn't matter what you had, there were still problems. I'm not saying I have the best system here, but seriously, 2080 Ti with a 3900X Ryzen, there was no reason this thing couldn't kick Cyberpunk.
I mean, I'm surprised that can even boot Windows anymore. That is so old.
That is actually quite a bit, yeah.
You just show off your Snapdragon 855 smartphone, Grandpa.
I know that doesn't even boot Android anymore. The 855 just shows me a flag says, "Sorry, we tried. We tried loading Windows." It'll be interesting. I think it's there was when I started playing with GeForce at the beginning, I primarily tried to tout it on like the Nook, Nook PCs, like some of those smaller PCs, or even the Azul PCs that we got, the PC sticks. That thing is perfect for travel. Like you take that with you have a controller connected to it, and you could just literally play anywhere. It doesn't matter what you're running, really, as long as you have a good network connection. And I like the desktop version Byte that I need to do the video on, the Byte 4. I upgraded the RAM on that. I went up to 8 gigs. I bought 4 gigs off of a friend of mine that had it, and I put in an SSD that cost me $17. So all in all, about maybe 25, 40, no, $40 or so worth of upgrades on the standard model that I got. That thing flies. That is actually really nice. Like
I still need. I took mine out of the box and I did some. This is like B-roll photography of it. I haven't turned it on yet.
We'll do it in post. We'll do it in post. Come on, man. No,
we're doing it live.
We'll do it live. That's usually how I like to do it. But with that being said, I'm glad. One thing is, I'm glad at least for 2020, since this is not just like I say for me the best of this week. Connectivity was a big part, and with all the issues and concerns that we had, we were able to stay connected. We found different ways to enjoy our content, either be it in either physical discs or media, or even online, like you said, with Stadia, GeForce. I think GeForce has come along quite a bit for about $5 a month. It's a very hard sell not to say, wow. And they have a lot of free to play thing, which is another thing. It's not just the titles that you buy. There also is some built in. Stadia has the same thing. There's a selection of games that you can play on there.
It's just funny that with game streaming, it seems like these like game developers are already learning from Netflix way faster. Mm-hmm. So Nvidia came out and they're like, hey, we're going to do this thing. You log in with your Steam account. We're going to look at these games and what we can play. And then a bunch of developers went like, oh, but you don't have the license to do that. We're pulling it. And you're like, great. You're going to come up with your own monthly subscription just so you can stream your games. I don't want any of that. I don't want what will eventually happen with game streaming is the same thing that's happening with media streaming is like, well, I mean, if you want to enjoy NBC shows, you just need to get Peacock. And you're like, no, I don't want to pay a la carte for less good cable channels just to stream that content that I used to have.
There's more streaming service coming in 2021. I think Discovery Plus is a big thing that's going on for $5. So seriously, more streaming. Like at this point, I'm thinking, why don't I just cancel cable? Like, why even? Like, seriously. But if you think about it, I mean, you're paying the exact same amount that you were paying on cable now because of the amount of services you have to subscribe to. So it's really. Yeah, which is, to me, it's like, if I want to pay for Peacock, that's $5. HBO is what, $15. Then you add what is it called? If you want to go into like Hulu for like $12, if you want to go with that one, just to watch your local channels or even replays of channels. If you just start racking it up, cutting the cord is not the same as it used to be at one point, where you truly have to be independent from, if nothing else, your local channels. But yes, I think somebody also did make a point. What's it called, about the VR? VR was actually a big, like, there wasn't really a lot of development in 2020 for VR. I think the Quest 2 was the biggest launch that I saw, unless I missed a big, everything else for the most part was software updates.
This feels like such a long year. Was the Valve 2020, or was that the end of last year?
I want to say it's 2019. I don't remember Valve. I mean, I can look it up and see what they have, but
when did the Valve Index come out?
All right, now we're doing it. We're definitely, the Index 2 was June 2018.
Oh,
2019. Sorry,
I didn't know.
No, release dates. The release date for the Valve Index, the first, unless there's a second one, is
no. There's not a second one.
Yeah,
but again, 2020 has done enough of a hammering on my brain.
I was going to say brain wipe. Yes, we wake up tomorrow morning and everything's gone.
So again, VR was an interesting, because VR is now becoming sort of a console option unto itself. Like if you're going to do VR, you've got a catalog of games that are specific for that piece of hardware. You look at like a really nice headset or a Quest 2 or some of these other options, and
I still like my Quest, my first Quest, by the way. I'm enjoying it.
It's great. I mean, now Facebook knows every intimate detail of everything about you and in your home, and they're scanning your kids, and nothing you can do can stop them. But they're cheap, so that's good. No, it is.
I like that segue. It's like, oh no, but it's great. Yeah, it's cheap, but it's really.
No, it's what I think is kind of curious. Just as we were just talking about streaming services, everything's going to explode, and everyone wants their own streaming service. Yeah. VR is still in this sort of difficult to break through futuristic but cumbersome idea of technology. So the tech on the Quest is really exciting because it really does
Absolutely.
chip away at
Hmm.
that barrier to entry. Like I'm in this holding pattern. Like my mom was all about Beat Saber when she got to try it out on my really awful Windows mixed reality headset, and it's like we want to get her something nicer. She wants to do like VR and sort of fitnessy games
Hmm.
that really get you moving and stuff. I mean, I think that's great. The one that makes the most sense is the Quest, so that she
Yep.
doesn't have to buy, a separate gaming rig, but she doesn't want anything to do with Facebook. I mean,
Facebook.
literally, like she does not want to give them a dime. So where's the competition there? I love
And
the idea of the Valve Index, and it's a beautiful piece of hardware. I love what HTC had with the Vive, and it was definitely a step above what we got with the Oculus Rift. But
mhm.
we like the entire market has just chilled, and it's almost like these other companies have like said, either you are at the premium tier of the most expensive versions of gaming PC hardware, or you go buy from Facebook. We don't care. And to me,
And
that's the travesty, is where like all the money is going to be at that Quest side. But like an HTC doesn't want to try and compete against a Quest because it's got to be built into Facebook's business model that the reason why you can buy a Quest for $299 is
mhm.
because they're selling it at either at cost or at a loss, so that you're tied into their ecosystem,
It's a
you're
data.
buying their software, and
Yep.
they're profiting off of your user data. Well, an HTC can't do that. So the HTC version is going to be at least $100 more expensive, and everyone's going to go, oh, no, see, it costs too much. You can buy a Quest for $299 and give up every piece of your information in your life to Facebook, and that's how you save money because I'm a smart techie. And you're like, well, you can't win. So yeah, it's frustrating. I think VR is going to be stuck until we kind of acknowledge what things really cost.
The approach to VR for me, like from the once we went into the S10 series, when Samsung decided to cancel out their VR, their the Gear VR kind of approach, trying to merge the tech, or at least leverage the tech that you get out of your smartphone into a VR experience, which I felt like by the time we started getting a controller for it, it actually became very well refined. I felt like it was a
It was
decent
actually good.
experience. Yeah, no, I mean, because if you're picking up a Samsung anyways, if this is your choice of devices, picking up a $60 to $70, $80 control, case with a controller gave you that extra benefit of that phone. But then that just went out the door, and it all became, like you said, the Quest. I picked up the Quest purely because of Beat Saber. That was literally the reason there was, and I still play Beat Saber. But the way Facebook does this thing where now all of the new updates go to the Quest 2, where the Quest 1 is like this, the stepchild that nobody talks about or something. Um, I feel weird. Like, I don't get all of that same benefit. Although the HTC version of Beat Saber gets a lot more tracks, a lot more games, a lot more updates. So, because I watched the videos of some of those really advanced, like the crazy advanced people that can actually play Beat Saber, like they're dancing and they're moving, and I'm like, I don't move that fast. It doesn't work that way. No, just kidding. I like it. I like Beat Saber. Beat
Well,
Saber for me is one of my favorites. But yeah,
again, same thing with I was a little cranky when Samsung canceled the Gear VR. Was really cranky when Google gave up on
Cardboard.
not Cardboard. What was their nicer headset?
Daydream.
Day.
Oh,
I have it.
Daydream was there next to him. Yeah, yeah. I have
have
I have the Daydream as well. The
I'm gonna
fabric,
go
the $99 one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what we needed was Daydream with its own display.
Yeah.
And in charge of $199, and then you just plug a cable into your phone and you run it that way. And eventually, like what we could have gotten with the Gear is you improve it and you add controller support. I'm sad because there was one really great game. It was a gunslinger game that used their little remote really well. And it's funny that
Okay.
the Daydream remote now feels almost exactly like the new Chromecast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it was this great gunslinger game where you had the one controller and you'd aim with the remote.
You're right. You're right. The controller does feel the same. I just remembered it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't used Daydream for a while. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I got to pull
So
it up.
anyway, and I missed it because the touch pad on the remote or on the controller, right? It's a remote controller. I don't know what we're supposed to call it. You would do like your gun tricks. So you'd like swipe, 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 and that's how you would like spin and fling the gun. I loved playing that game. It was so great. It's just after you played it for like 20 minutes, the phone was running so hot. Like you were just sweating like crazy into a fabric covered VR headset.
I remember that was, oh my God. Yeah. And they made sure like, the flaps were open. There's enough air circulation. That's why they never closed it entirely.
And the voice acting was great. The main character was Robert Craig Smith, and I believe your sort of voice, your sort of smart AI gun was Jessica DeChico, who I've worked with. I've worked with both of them. But anyway, I loved this game. I bought it. I can't play it anymore. Daydream is dead. All of this mobile powered would have worked. LG was going to do that Friends, with the G5. They had
Yeah. I totally remember the LG Friends. Yep, exactly. So I was with you at MWC that year. Yeah. I want to say that was the year. Yeah.
So if we want VR to take off and have some of this more have more of these competitive options, I kind of feel like mobile might be the place to revisit. Accessible VR. Cardboard kind of whet our appetites. Daydream was a step in the right direction, but we could launch, a Quest style headset that you're not tethered to a PC. Mm-hmm. We have plenty of compute power on, a phone from 2020 moving forward to pull off a Quest style
mobile. Yep, exactly. Yeah. And that totally it's literally the hardware is there. It's more about setting up the software experience, the support, where we start seeing more developer wanting to work on that platform. But you're right. When Facebook puts in a piece of hardware that is so at cost, almost at loss, it's the competition of how do you compete in that realm where I would say a user needs to understand what device they're getting. It's kind of like circling back to the beginning of the conversation when we talked about Xiaomi. Lower budget phones that sell quite well, but also have that caveat of that they're using some of the data that comes out of them from either advertising within their own apps or data collection from their browsers. It's something that you should be aware of and understand. And is that the price you're willing to pay? It's not the front price; it's the total package price. What you're actually giving up or paying, not just the dollars. So, but yeah, 2020 for some reason was pretty much more of a Quest 2 kind of a thing. It was a very low key. I don't know if maybe because of the way things were, I would have imagined because more people were home, that I felt like VR would have done much better this year because of the, giving people the ability of escaping their reality, plugging in.
I can't travel, but I got a VR headset.
I want to be at that, Ready Player One level VR with that suit that just basically, goes all around and you're like, can you feel me high-fiving you, my friend? Yes, I do. Every time I see Ready Player One, I'm like, I don't know how far we are from that, that dystopia type of an experience. We're sitting in a beat up van on top of more broken, trash area, whatever, but you're experiencing the perfect world. And playing racing games. I don't know. I felt like VR should be somewhere closer. The Quest definitely does it. One feature I like about the Quest is the ability of playing with it on my PC, where I can mirror my PC in the Quest. So you can actually plug the Quest into your PC and just have a virtual desktop. So I feel like, for me, that's what I felt like was the best way to play or try to play Cyberpunk. Unfortunately, not the best experience. I tried. Cyberpunk begs to be a VR game. Seriously, the way that the graphics, the open world experience, you truly want to be able to feel like you just walked, a mile in V's shoes. That's basically what I want. I want to feel like what it is to have to run 500 meters every time I have to go from one spot to the other, or drive the car that is undrivable. Drives me crazy. The driving mechanics in Cyberpunk are like, I don't know who designed them, but like, seriously, throttle, take it easy, man. V is just he's a leadfoot, man. He slams the gas every time he starts driving. But
yeah, it's annoying when you're driving with someone and they treat the accelerator pedal like it's a binary switch.
Yeah, like it's either on or off. I'm like, okay, no. There's in the middle.
Give it a nudge.
Yeah, but yeah, no. I'm still enjoying playing the game again. And speaking of which, what I wanted to mention to you last week, I picked up some new unboxing knives. I'm actually getting into that knife collection.
Very
Let's see if we can get
nice.
this one to. It's not gonna focus.
It's
Is it
not
gonna
gonna,
focus?
it's not gonna do it.
No, because I'm in the picture.
No,
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
gonna get it.
I I tried. Last time when we were doing the stream with the guys, the whole show I was actually playing with my knife.
Nerd.
As soon as after you hung up, I forgot to ask, and I said, "Hey guys, did you hear me playing with my knife the whole time?" And then Sam was like, "Well, we heard the click, but we didn't know what it was." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my fidget spinner. Um, I like them. They look nice. They look pretty.
You know,
They're pretty nice."
my bad fidget spinner, the little white plastic clips that you get with OnePlus charging cables.
I know.
So Lex comes into the office and she's like, "Daddy, what are these?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're just the cable clips that you get with the OnePlus phone." She's like, "Okay, cool." So she picks them up and she starts to walk off, and we're like, "No, you got to bring those back." Daddy's brain needs some kind of distraction where I'm constantly like flipping them around.
Flipping around. Yeah. No, for me, it's I mean, I seriously, when I said
reserve here that I'm just in case I lose the ones that I currently have, I haven't taken the clips off of this other old OnePlus cable
just to get it going. Oh man. For me is I'm building a collection. I don't know why. I don't know. Every time I see a knife that looks like really nice, like there's this rainbow one. I hope it focuses on this one.
It's not going to work. It's
no.
This is a failure of live streaming.
Yeah, it worked better last time when I was gone, but yeah, here, let me see. Nope. No Sony. No, Sony is not going to do it today.
I don't keep. I never kept a lot of like lock blades. For me, it was the slider Gerbers. You'd schnick and the little like pliers would slide out. Those were my jam. I had like at one point I think I had 8 or 9 different variants on those types of multi-utilitarian tool pocket knife things. You know, again, because everyone has like a different name for that. So that's like I got to be careful when I start spending money on those. I'm like, well, I also need this other one in graphite. Oh, but I need this one that's carbon. And
for me, it was such an impulse thing that I was like, I thought I was getting one and ended up with 3. You know, like how many knives do I need to unbox things? It doesn't make sense. But once I got them, I need to make sure to put them away too, because I know Omar. He walked into my office and he knows where it was. And then he was in the office for like about 5-6 minutes. I'm like, what is he doing in there? I walked out. He figured out how to open it, but he didn't figure out how to close it. And at that point, I was like, yeah.
Now on that one, does it have the lock under the blade? Because that's my biggest pet peeve on lock blade.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me show you which one. This one actually it's a lot of fun. So I forgot to turn on my camera overhead here. And let's just sweep up. Sorry, excuse the little mess here. So these are the 3 knives. Oops, sorry. And if I can move these things around, wasn't planning here. So you get the 3 different options. So they're all. This one has a built-in like a seatbelt cutter, glass cutter, glass breaker. I don't know why we have that. And then they all have the nice little switch. And then the blade stop is right under. So you have to
like that.
I don't like it. This one actually is the one that I really don't like because I need to. This is how I have to go. I always have to
put your
click
finger under the blade.
Which is
the blade.
So the one that works the best, which is this one, is very nice. So it opens up the same way, but I actually don't have to touch the blade. So I just do this, and then the moment I just break it, and then I just close. So now I've gotten used to it. But
my favorite lock blades, and then this one release where you could disengage wouldn't be in the path of where the blade folds. It would be on the opposite side of the handle.
It should be for protection
on the back of the handle, and so your thumb would be there, and then you'd push the blade close, and all of your fingers would be out of the way.
Exactly. You never have to worry about it. So the design on these, although they look nice, I agree. What you're referring to is having the switch option here, as opposed to having to open it and having to touch it on this end, which is under the blade. I should be able to do it on the back. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know why. I don't know why they didn't do it this way.
I'm gonna find one for you. I'm gonna find a lock blade that closes the right way just to add to your collection. I've decided.
I like, but I like this one, the color one, just the color, so like that just like I don't know. It was the end of the year. I wanted to get something nice. No, I'm just kidding. But with that being said, I know there's a lot of things coming up within the next couple of weeks. I'm I may be actually. I'm not sure if I may end up taking a break this Saturday with the Saturday morning show. I'll see how it goes. I'm thinking just kind of like letting New Year's settle in. Hopefully, let that 2021 vibe kind of hit us.
I couldn't talk after the week of Christmas, and you know what? Taking 1 week just to not it was a little bit of downtime, and we're only talking a couple hours, but I kind of needed that. So
no, I'm with you. I totally with you, and I didn't realize it by the time until you sent out the message that you were on your show, you were on our show, and then you were on their show, all in this, and those are like long ones too, because ours was like almost 3 hours. That one when we had Josh jump in, so
yeah.
it was a lot of talking, a lot of drinking for some of us that night, which was very, very interesting. So with that, I'm actually glad that we are done with 2020. That's why I kind of titled the video. I said goodbye 2020, hello 2021, and I'm hoping for better things. I'm hoping better, people are. I don't know. I can't. I mean, I can't speak for other people's behaviors. That's obviously everybody's responsible for their own. But my hope is that we do get a better handle on the current situation, the way it's going. Mm-hmm. I foresee obviously the first half of the year is going to be kind of almost status quo improvement kind of thing. I don't think this is going to be like one day we wake up, it's congratulations, we're back to 2019. It's one of those. So I hope that's how it goes, and we'll see. CES is different. I miss the hanging out with you type of experience. January, I mean, this last 2020 CES, obviously, we didn't get a chance to, but it was the previous years that I've always enjoyed, gunning it, just playing, hanging out with you, going, checking out your Newegg production style, which I love. I would love to be able to be that position where I have a camera crew, and not having to deal with all of the production style part of it, but just being the host of the show. Mm-hmm. And that was really cool. And the team from Newegg was always cool and really hang out. And I don't know, hopefully 2021 or 2022 we'll be able to hang out again. I'm going to hold you to that idea from last show.
Oh yeah. I really want to make that happen. And I'm even talking to Marie, like we should start looking at reservations and where we want to go, and have like
absolutely
a post 2022.
You have no idea how many vacation days I've saved up this year where I'm not going anywhere. If there's one good thing I can say, yes, my vacation, which was depleted, it was always at zero. I've never had vacation throughout the years of travel and whatever. I actually have a few weeks now. I don't see myself going anywhere, at least the first half. So yeah, for sure. So we'll have to make that happen. Let's see what Aditya just threw this one, and I don't know if you saw that one. You guys, community where yes, it could have making 2020 the whole less miserable, and could have been. Thank you very much.
I speak for TK and I, where I say that feeling is mutual, because I would have been totally crazy without some fun nerdy gadget chat with all these dudes out there. One of
the many things that you've influenced my entire whole approach to things. The live stream alone, if nothing else, I would not have started it if you didn't, kept reminding me on that, and then talking it up, and then helping me out with the audio setup
by good people. And it's like, it's foolish to not like jump in.
Always. And I really, really wish we can get back to at some point where we're able to go out and hang out and lunch again and kick it.
That I feel will probably be a relatively soon development.
I hope so.
2021.
Yes,
we've got to make sure the people who need them are getting their care first, and
absolutely,
there's a lot that needs to be taken care of. But I'm seeing those positive indicators out on the horizon that at least the light at the end of the tunnel isn't an oncoming train. So, compared to where we were in 2020, that I'm just going to call progress. And from there, we can make some happier days happen again.
I hope so. And if one thing and nothing else, I want to go hit up that Japanese restaurant, the one that took over our old spot. And I'm hoping their ramen is decent enough that it could function, because for me, that was a loss. That was a loss.
As soon as you and I have our vaccinations, I feel we need to do a limited run series Yeah, it doesn't. We need to make this like an ongoing thing, but we need to find Juan and TK's new ramen place.
Yes, yes, I am all for it right now. Sign me up now. Where do I sign?
And I've got a some foodie guy, Instagram account in reserve, sure, but we need to make I'm not into like the traditional idea of a mukbang where it's basically an hour of me shoveling food into my face and talking with my mouth full. But I feel like some ramen critique.
Yeah.
Maybe a 6-part limited series. Juan and TK eat a bunch of ramen until we find a place that can scratch the itch.
Exactly.
We're gonna need to make that happen.
I am all for it, and it was a build.
I want to spend like the last 10 minutes here as we're kind of closing out this show. New Year's traditions. How are you and your family going to celebrate the ball dropping? What are you looking forward to?
If anything else, I know my son is looking forward to this. He loves New Year's for one thing. He can stay up late, so he's already planned out the evening. He want some gaming. So my son and I finally started playing. We set up a separate Fortnite account. Let's just say this much: I've always played one account, and he's played my account. So we've set up now a separate account so that we can play each other. So we're starting that tradition every night now. We play a few rounds. But honestly, it's just usually hanging out around a family meal. Typically, our New Year's Eve has always been with family. So we always have my in-laws and my mom, and we all kind of get together and we have a hot pot, a traditional, like a Chinese family style meal. So we're having that together tonight, but it's just going to be, the three of us and some gaming and watching TV and relaxing. Maybe I'll watch Wonder Woman 1984 again. I don't know. I like that movie. I don't think it's as bad of a movie as people are making it out to be, but I could be the only guy.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you my tradition here in a second, but you brought up Wonder Woman 84, and I feel we need to talk about Wonder Woman 84. If anyone is curious about watching Wonder Woman 84 and you're concerned about spoilers, I can't promise we won't let a spoiler slip, but I'm going to try and keep this spoiler free. I am very annoyed by the film critique of a movie like Wonder Woman where we're fixated on plot holes and inconsistencies that aren't really plot holes.
Yep.
Like the one that's brought up a lot is like, oh, they get in this plane and then they just fly to Egypt. How unrealistic. That plane doesn't have a fuel tank large enough to make it to Egypt. And you're like, who cares? That is
it's
not
the invisible jet, man. Get over it.
Well, but then also it's like, if I watch a movie where two people drive across country, I don't need to watch them refuel their car. and I don't need to spend in real time or get a montage of them driving across the country. So those things, not plot holes. No. Then the way that they bring back Chris Pine's character.
Yeah, that was, I heard a lot of.
That to me is the one problematic aspect, because if we were to do a gender swap, I think that would be a really icky situation. So I totally grok, and I'm totally with people there. I think it's a somewhat tone deaf commentary, but I do think it's in keeping with the plot of the movie, because these wishes aren't real wishes; they're lies. They're meant to corrupt. They're meant to sort of pervert the wish, and that would be sort of a problematic way to bring back a loved one, is to have that that loved one inhabit another person's body,
which is also to take away from the whole the monkey paw kind of conversation. Yeah,
exactly.
And when it takes away from you.
So that to me actually works. Like that it should feel wrong how she gets this loved one back. Really, my biggest complaint with the movie is that the movie starts so fun and 80s and goofy and vibrant, and it ends in the same way that so many superhero films end, where it's muddy and dark and brown with silly CG fighting effects. Like
it was a very I felt like
Black Panther level, not good action CG.
But believe it or not, though, I've when I was testing out the the AirPod Max when I was trying to listen to different things. So I kept playing that last fight scene between her and Cheetah, just to kind of get the sounds. I want to be able to hear the metal, the wings drop, the pieces, the shredding, all those little tiny minute pieces of sound that you want to enjoy and understand. It was a weird, yeah. The CG was done in a weird way, and they did it in a typical where they try they make it into more of a darker environment, so you don't get to see all of the different flaws. But
it didn't need to be that.
And it didn't, yeah. And the fight kind of ended in a weird, like, I don't feel like it kind of completed the storyline of Cheetah, because in the previews, that's where they built it up. I mean, we didn't really know about the wishing stone in the previews. That was a different thing that brought it up in the movie. But for me, like, felt like Cheetah should have been a little bit more. And then at the end, Cheetah, she lost her Cheetah powers. That kind of just like, okay, so she's back to being Barbara. I'm like, okay, Barbara.
But
she still wants to be an apex predator. Let's just say this. For me, the storyline, as the movie as a whole, I've watched it about 3 times now. The first time I watched it, because I tend to miss things, right? When you watch a movie, especially when you anticipate it, you've been wanting this movie for so long, and you watch it, you're going to miss parts. You're going to miss pieces of the storyline. So after the third time, I felt like I got a good flow of it. And the fact how they ended the character essentially is a father feeling, to me, is the crippling effect of the whole thing. I was like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, the character,
it's the one thing that I like. It doesn't always, I don't think it completely lands. But the thing I really love what Patty Jenkins is trying to do with this character is Wonder Woman has always been kind of an unconventional comic book character. And I like that she's trying. I mean, the first movie, I don't think the ending lands as well as it could. But the whole thing is like, well, I'm fighting the god of war. I'm not going to beat the god of war with more war. I'm going to beat the god of war with love.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a little cornball, but that's actually kind of an unconventional way to end a superhero film. And the same thing here. I'm going to fight a mischievous stone, made by a trickster god with truth. I mean, from the very first scene of the movie, it's just a conversation about this higher
being truthful. High ideal, and
not going to be a wishing stone and a monkey paw with more punches and more kicks. So again, I really like what Patty Jenkins is trying to do. I'm not sure I feel those endings completely satisfy in a traditional action film kind of commentary.
Yeah.
But I really respect that we're trying to do something unconventional with a comic book character that has always been a little unconventional. So, my criticisms of the film, I think it gets too dark and muddy at the end. I really wish they hadn't tried to do all CG fight stunts, because I think it looks lame. And the beginning is super ridiculous, vibrant, and bright and colorful. Everything that I love from like the Christopher Reeves Superman films.
Absolutely.
I really wish they had stuck with that. And the cast is phenomenal. Kristen Wiig is surprisingly good.
Isn't it weird though how comedians can have that versatility that you never saw? Like, Robin Williams used to do the exact same thing for me, where you see him in comedies all the time, and then you watch the phone booth. Was it the phone? No, the photo booth, or like some of his darker things. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's the same guy. But it is quite an extreme. They play that extreme side very well. And she did rare. I have to say, prior to CG, Kristen Wiig did quite well. The character, the plot, the whole being upset, defending him, all of that good things. To me, the movie, I felt like I said, it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was like the super massive hit, but it was definitely an enjoyable title to watch.
Yeah, my last complaint, and this is why I'm surprised that you've gone back so often, I don't think I'm going to go back just because I think it's too long. It is too long.
So I never said I watched the whole movie entirely. So I'm sorry. Let me jump back. The first time I watched it, I know there was a few things that, because between my son asking me who is this and what they were doing, there was the whole, when you're playing a narrative. The second time I watched it entirely. But the third time has been mostly pieces of where I wanted to focus on, like I felt like I missed some of the development part of the character here. The storyline overall, I think overall, if I had to, it was the same day. We watched Soul first, and we watched Wonder Woman 1984.
Movie day. That's a lot.
That was a lot. And I forgot that Wonder Woman was over 2 hours at the time. So when we sat down, Omar left. It's like, I'm not getting enough action in here. This is not an MCU type of a title. Not enough.
It's not even action. It's
Well, for him, story development for him is it's not his high point. Yeah, anytime we get into that,
I feel like story development can be more meaningful. Like there's that whole scene where Wonder Woman tasks Barbara with looking up the stone, and then Barbara hits a
that was
dead.
helpful.
And then they have to find someone else who knows about like Mayan culture. All of that is like the worst aspect of like modern day cinema. It's like the last Star Wars film is I've got to go to this place to get this thing that sends me to this place to get this thing so that I can meet this person who sends me to this place so I can get this thing. And then after 2 hours of that, they just break the MacGuffin because it's dramatic. And you wasted 2 hours of a movie sending me on fetch quests. And the same thing, I have the same problem, is why not just cut that whole section out and have Barbara discover the thing that she was tasked to discover, but then she betrays Wonder Woman. Like that's characters motivating actions, and those characters relate to each other. Instead, you construct this whole scene where they meet someone else who's only in the film for one scene.
I like this. It's a fetch quest after a fetch quest. Yep, exactly.
I'm so tired of padding out movies with stupid fetch quests. And the middle of Wonder Woman definitely suffers from that. If it were Barbara betrays Wonder Woman with this information that she was supposed to find, that is way more meaningful than
and it befitting the character. I was going to say it totally fits into Barbara's character at that point because she's starting to discover that her wish came with bonus. I mean, if anything, Barbara's the one that got bonuses of everything. Everybody else kept getting things taken. But yes, I think I may have done my 1984 kind of fill of the entire process. But we did watch, just for reference, for the first Wonder Woman the night before, just to refresh our memory, just to kind of get the Themyscira kind of thing going on.
Movie.
It's a lot of movies.
So I'm glad that, I think our experiences with Wonder Woman were kind of simpatico. I am not into, it's like I think it's an ugly look. I'm not sure what triggers this. There's nothing. I don't think Wonder Woman 84 is exceptional, but I think it's a fine action film of the genre. Yeah. And I'm not sure why we've got to go down this minutia rabbit hole. The wishes don't make sense. They steal an airplane and they don't show you when they refuel the airplane. How does this happen where they're in this one location and then time passes and then something different happens? And I get it, but like that's not what makes a movie. I'm tired of the CinemaSins version of film critique. None of those are plot holes. None of them take away from the movie. And if you actually pay attention to the movie, I feel like the movie is fairly internally consistent with its weird comic book logic.
And the pace actually does follow.
And yeah, I think these things happen. I remember someone who panned the movie because it's like, well, when they're in Egypt and they're fighting, those kids don't even see a truck with a 50 cal machine gun. That's so unrealistic. And like, that's what took you out of the movie. Wonder Woman has to save 2 kids. You were upset that Wonder Woman had to save 2 kids in the movie for a dramatic action beat.
I personally was very offended. She didn't speak fluent Arabic. I mean, come on. Like, she's Wonder Woman. What do you mean broken Arabic?
Really? And like when they go and talk to the Mayan dude, why wasn't that in Spanish?
Yeah. Like, how is he perfectly fluent in English? That doesn't make sense.
I'm so frustrated. This movie is unwatchable.
Because Wonder Woman can read everything.
But we kind of fall down this rabbit hole, and like we get dozens of like, action movies starring dudes with male characters, and it's like the entire female action movie genre depends on one character. Like that level of scrutiny just doesn't work for anyone. But anyway, I know I sidetracked us by bringing up Wonder Woman, but Jim actually nailed what we're gonna do. I'm gonna catch up on Cobra Kai.
Oh, that's right. Cobra Kai starts tomorrow, right?
So we're a whole season behind still. We only finished.
Okay, you're only on one.
We've got a lot of runway to get to.
Okay.
And then for us, for our family, it's always about making up a big old pot of pozole. That's spicy red chili soup and some hominy. And
see, the soup brings family together. That's what hot pot is, by the way. It's essentially a family made soup.
I'm a big fan of mixing up some hot pot, but for us, my people, it's hominy and pork. So we're gonna do that. We even like splurged on an excursion out to one of the Mexican mercados out here to get like legit tortillas and
Oh, nice.
tortilla warmer and some good the nixtamal. I'm sorry, we're gonna go down the whole foodie path, but like the hominy that you get in a regular supermarket is really gross. So we
okay.
The really fresh, big old fat corn kernel hominy, and the only way to get that is at a Vallarta. So
you have to go back to the valley. Yep. Nope.
Yeah, we had to. Mandatory.
So right before we talked, I was actually in the valley because that was also the only place we can find an Asian market, a 99 ranch market. So I was procuring a lot of our ingredients, the shrimp, the fish balls, the beef balls, and some lamb, some shredded lamb in there as well, some mushrooms, some tofu. So ours is very seafood centric. It's very heavy, but there's a little bit of lamb in there. And I love just the communal part of it. Like, you start with a broth and you put in what you want and you build up, and the flavors just kept getting better and better. And you add more chicken broth, and the whole thing is an amazing thing. So that has always been our tradition. Even with Christmas Eve, we typically used to do that, but more so with New Year's and Chinese New Year's, which actually happens in another month or so. So we also have that secondary.
Christmas Eve for us is tamales. We always do tamales. We unwrap tamales.
Christmas tamales.
We unwrap something on Christmas Eve, and then we open presents on Christmas Day. In my dad's family, because they're Irish, German, and Italian, when we would have our big family Christmas, like family reunion Christmas, it's almost always Italian. So this year we did up a big fatty lasagna. And so
nice.
Kind of celebrate.
Lasagna's, with the weather we're getting now, lasagna is perfect.
It was such a good comfort food. And just like, and I was like, there were like a 4 cheese blend with the ricotta every other layer with, I dried out, I dehydrated some zucchini and some mushroom to soak up the sauce in addition to some sausage. I mean, I was in the kitchen all day. It was incredible.
I love it. Yeah, no, we typically, I mean, yeah, so Christmas for us, we ended up just making our own. My wife made some noodles. We did the same thing that we did kind of for Thanksgiving, where we made some dishes and we shared it with the family. So we dropped off some food to the grandparents on both sides, and they gave us some things. So we kind of had that whole somewhat distant but together kind of a situation. And it's nice, but those are the things that make us appreciate the holidays, right? The ability of cooking things, sharing something like that, and food builds such a deeper memory in our soul. A lot of us remember more about trips, about the things we ate, the things that we enjoyed, because it has such a big engraving. Like you and I going to Shake Shack at CES, that to me is one of the biggest highlights of that place, because
for sure.
I've been to many Shake Shacks since, but that was truly one of those, we hang out after a long day, we're exhausted, it was the end of the day, but we're still hanging out kind of thing. So those are the things. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a great meal, enjoyable, of course. I don't know if Lex is going to try to stay up. I know Omar is shooting for 12.
I don't think she fully understands that that's a thing. So, I mean, if we catch the East Coast ball drop, she might be in bed early.
She's like, it's done.
Yeah. Again, she's 5 and she doesn't fully like get time zones. So we might play a fast one on her and see
if that. A few years ago, we've had it where Omar says he's going to stay, but like about around 11 o'clock, the battery just dies, and he's like, and that ends up being me carrying him up the stairs. So it's not one of those. He's not light anymore, man. He's not a baby. he's literally almost as much as me.
You really got to get your legs in it on that one.
I'm gonna have to get some kind of back support and love. And like
Lex is a pretty stocky 5-year-old, but like if she takes a run and a leap, I can still
you can still catch,
like just lift her and stuff. Like I'm still there, so I'm still good.
Yeah, mine is not doable. Mine, I'd have to go to the gym and do deadlifts.
You're just like one arming Omar over your head.
No. If I'm doing that, I'm laying on the ground and he's standing on his feet. No. I was like, okay, I got you. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great time. And I am probably I may end up just taking this weekend just to kind of rest and relax. Next week is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be in. I think I'm still going to do my Monday morning chat if my voice holds out.
I hope so.
I think like that kind of gets us started into the CES spirit. So we'll see where we go from there. It's blown my mind that like we're already like my inbox has just been savaged by CES stuff. So we'll have some more to talk.
CES is here. It is definitely ever so much there, and I already know that January is going to be busy because I'm starting to get things that I can't talk about yet till now. So, but we'll have to see. I'm hoping things go well. Happy New Year's to everybody, as you guys saw right there. Aditya, Greg, Matt, Simon. Simon says, I think Simon says Hypno's in there. Steve DeRoche is in the comments as well today. Everybody, Lonnie's in there as well. We have JJ's in.
Nick
and Nick, of course, Senor Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh yes, Andrew, Senor. I need to set up some time with with Andrew, Sam, and Matt to start getting back into gaming. We haven't played a match together for some time. It's just Cyberpunk took a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of time into your life. Like seriously, like if you want to talk time travel, talk Cyberpunk.
Well, and next year, like everyone was, I've played some Cyberpunk. I kind of dabbled with some Control. I'm not really into like online competitive or shooters or anything like that. But next year, we should be getting that werewolf game and Vampire Bloodlines too.
Yes, so I'm waiting for Vampire Bloodlines too. So yeah,
of like hunkering down and ignoring what's around me. Like those are two titles I'm very anxious about. So we'll have to see.
We'll have to see how that goes, and I'm very excited. Let's just say this much. I think Cyberpunk, with all of the things that it had, it's still for me is an enjoyable title to go through. And but for me, it's Warzone for the longest time. It's just I need that action. Cyberpunk is more drawn out.
That you date, and then the game you're married to, and
exactly.
All right. Well, folks, as you know, to kind of complement what my buddy here has said. Again, it's always about safe, warm, healthy, and happy, and yes. Hopefully you get a really good meal along the way. So
I hope so.
From our families to your families, I hope 2020 closes out on a nice note, on a kind note, and that we can all kind of find that energy to kind of keep up the momentum, keep up the flow, and hit 2021 with some positive energy.
I hope so. And with that being said, we've had about 6 different requests for a TK1ception. Are you up for a little bit of a loop? Why not? We'll finish the stream this way.
Especially if you're not going to do it this Saturday. We gotta make up for it now.
Well, that's right. I forgot about that. The TKs. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start it off. Actually, let me cancel here. Hey, I got to start it off the right way. Okay, so here
for a TK1ception. So.
No, I did not. I did not plan it. I just didn't do it right. So here we are. Share and whoa! Finally, it always does that time zone. I always want to keep it going. So thanks to everybody again. I appreciate you guys. Greg, of course, TK1ception, of course, TK1 Aditya, Steve DeRoche, everybody else, Matt Tyler, of course, started everything else, and of course, Greg jumping back in there. Oh, Jim's in there. Happy New Year, everybody! And
wave in a baseball stadium. I love it.
Always, and everybody joining us and being part of it. I appreciate that. So. Be safe, be happy, be merry, be good, and enjoy 2021. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye, everybody.